Hello, I'm Geraldine Glass, and welcome to the Sacred Science of Sound. I am so excited to be in conversation today with Kevin James. Kevin is speaking with me from Lisbon, where he currently is, creating new music, leading circles, and Kevin creates circle singing, chanting worldwide, and mantra. His music has changed my life. I met Kevin. He was one of the artists at a large conference, and there were many different people performing. And when Kevin came on the stage and began to play his music, my heart burst open. And it was as if his music, which by the way is called Kevin James Heart Songs, went right to my heart and opened it tenderly, but with a strength that it needed to be opened, and the feelings of sadness and grief for losing my son needed to be felt. And Kevin's music just embraced me, held me, and allowed my heart to weep. And that's how our friendship began, and that was in 2015. And I am so grateful for him and for his music, and thrilled to share conversation with him. So welcome, Kevin, to the Sacred Science of Sound.
Nice to see you, Geraldine.
So we've been having all different kinds of conversations with different musicians and scientists and writers, doctors, and I'd love to ask you to begin to share with our viewers, when did you first feel the healing power of music, or the transformational power of music? How did you know that music was going to be your life's path?
I found my way through finding out or feeling out what wasn't my life path with music. I loved music and I wanted to be a musician, but when I started to follow the conventional roads that a musician would take, I didn't relate to it, or I felt that it wasn't the path that I was supposed to take. But it took me many years to sort of find the kind of music and the way that I wanted to share it. So as much as it wasn't really any monumental moment that I decided this is my path, it was more bumping into walls and saying to myself, this doesn't feel right. This isn't the vision that I had for the music. And I think to realize a vision, sometimes it takes small steps in that direction. But there was one monumental moment that comes to my mind where I was at a big gathering of 2,000 people, and there was a lot of hippies around and a lot of acoustic music, and it was a really great musician performing. And I was there with my friends, and I just heard something in the distance, and it was like just like some kind of nectar of sound. And I just turned and just followed and walked through the crowd, and then I came across a small circle of people, about 10 or 15 people sitting in a circle with a guitar, singing the Gayatri mantra. And I'd never heard it before, but I was just completely in love with the words, the sound, the melody. And I just thought to myself, that's the most beautiful song I've ever heard. It was like I remembered it. And I just felt like that's what I need to do. That's what I want to learn. This is the direction I want to take. So there's many steps like that.
I know music has this power sometimes to awaken. It's like it's awakening an ancient song that we know. It's a song, it's a melody, it's a tune that we know.
Yeah, songs and melodies, for me as a songwriter, it's almost like they already exist, and I'm doing my best to replicate it in the physical world. But for me, a good song is something that's timeless. So it already existed before I was able to access it.
You know, your songs for me have been such a part of this healing process. There's something about first when I just hear the timbre of your voice and the groundedness that you have such, I know you grew up in Australia, you have such a connection to the land, to the earth. And that for me, that came so through in the actual sound, but then you have so many beautiful songs that you've composed and then they go in the direction of mantra, and it's very, very beautiful and sacred, your work. I know you've told me that when you were a young man and you had a group of friends, maybe you'd share with the viewers the story about how you really kind of got on this deeper path with your music.
When I was 21, I had the feeling that I just had to leave my hometown. And I lived in a very blessed existence. Came from a big family, very supportive family. And my father was kind of like really so respected in town that I remember one time, or it was more than one time, that the police pulled me over, and then when they saw who I was, they said, "Oh, sorry, you're Jack Carroll's son." So I knew that I needed to go and experience the real world, and I took my guitar, and a friend of mine was going traveling, and I went with him, and we went to Asia, and after a little while, he was there with his girlfriend, and I felt like they wanted some space to themselves, and I felt I'm actually clinging on to them, and I think I need to go on my own journey. I think I need to follow this quest to go and see the real world, and I need to do it on my own. And so I said to them, "Look, I'm going to let you guys do your own thing. I'm going to take off and head up towards Thailand." So the moment I did that, I left the cafe after telling them, and went to a bookstore. And as I walked in, I noticed a book push out of the shelf before my eyes. And I've never seen anything like that ever before, that was unexplained in such a way. And I could see no one was behind that could have pushed it out. And I just went up and took the book out, and it was a secret teaching of Buddhism called Dzogchen, and the title was Self-Liberation Through Seeing with Naked Awareness, and it was written by a Tibetan man called Namkhai Nobu, who was the first Tibetan to take out this secret teaching out to the West, because he felt that the world needed it, and that they should just let it out and release it. And thank God that he did, because it found me. And when I just bought the book and took it back to my hotel room and just read the introduction, and I found myself weeping. For the first time in my life, I had reflected back to me something that was inside of me. And it was like I suppose just that feeling of that there was other people in the world that could see what I could see, or could feel what I could feel. And then my friend came into the room, and he saw the tears and the color of my face, and it's like, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Wow, this book just pushed out of the shelf." And yeah, just read the introduction. It's the most beautiful words I've ever seen. You'll understand. So he read the introduction, and he closed the book and handed it back to me and said, "There's nothing there." And so that's when that journey began. And I still I still relate to that teaching of Dzogchen, which is really, really seeing almost like looking at life like it's a movie. You're detaching yourself from the picture, and or another way would be to describe it would be to see through the eyes of the child, to look at the world and all the happenings, including yourself, in a wonderment rather than a knowing or beliefs or ideas. And I think I do my best to pass my music through that filter as well. So there is a depth in the words as well that people sometimes relate to that.
Oh, indeed, Kevin. I mean, I'll never forget after hearing you play at that conference, and then sitting and having a conversation with you and your daughter, who at that time was playing the harmonium with you. And I gave you a picture of Dylan. You said, I'll take that picture with me on my tours, and he'll be in all my chanting circles. And I can't tell you the joy and the comfort that gave me. And then you would send me pictures from different chanting circles all over the world where people were joined together in sacred sound. And my boy was a part of that. And then you announced sometime 6 months after that, after a meeting, that you were going to do a journey called Heart Songs in the Himalayas. And I could hear, as soon as I read it, I could hear Dylan just jumping up and down, Mom, we're going. And I was like, okay, all right. And I signed up, and that trip also became life-changing. It was very, very healing to be with you in Ladakh, in the Buddhist area of India. And so many miraculous things happened there. And I was exposed for the first time to what you've developed now called your morning practice, which maybe you'd like to share a little bit with the viewers about how that came to be and what you're doing with that morning practice, because that was the beginning of rooting something also through sound for me in a different way, coming from classical music. Suddenly there was this rootedness with what you're teaching with the Om.
Yeah, I think the morning practice, especially the Om meditation, or I call it the active Om meditation, it really revealed itself through me, rather than, it's not something necessarily that I learned, even though there's some aspects that I learned from teachings that I've received, but also just through the experience of sharing the meditation. It deepened and clarified and refined and defined itself. Sometimes as I was sharing during the retreats or in workshops, it would be developing itself through me just having the faith to allow the words to come out, or just realizations that happen through the meditation. So it's for me, it's kind of like the songs that it already existed, and I think I feel that I've kind of mined it out of the ether, and it's been such an incredible game changer for me. I mean, just this morning I was in a kind of one of those stressful mornings where the phone starts beeping and blimping, and you've got to do this and you've got to do that, and you just want to have a relaxing morning. And then Susanna asked me if I wanted to meditate with her, and I said, no, I'm too busy. And then I heard her meditating, and I went to go and close the door, and then I just slipped in there and started meditating with her, and I saw her face light up. And then as I meditated with this practice, it's so powerful. It just took me to my childhood when there was nothing to do. Those moments as a kid where you just going out for the sake of it, and there's nowhere to go and nothing to do, and you're carefree, and I was by the fire, I was in nature, I was all these different moments in my life where I was just so empty and so peaceful, and I was so grateful, and it just inspires me to share it with people, because it's a tool that we can use to free ourselves from the stress of life and the demands of.
There's an innocence that comes through. I'm just smiling because I'm in California and it's pouring rain, which we so dearly need. It's Mother Nature is really giving us fresh water. There's an innocence when you connect really deep down in the root of you and begin to let that Om rise up as you teach. It's a beautiful thing, and
gives you an opportunity to learn from your own wisdom. You know, it really connects you to your own higher intelligence, and you can be your own guru. I mean, what could be better than that? I mean, it's wonderful to have a guru or a teacher, but quite often it's confined to books or going to a particular place where, you know, if you can be your own teacher, and be so much so your own teacher that you don't need anything more, you know, that you're enough. I think that's what this does for me. I get so much from it. It's always profound awakenings. And so I think that it's a responsibility that I have to share it. And yeah, I love sharing it. We're about to go to Ladakh again in July, August. And we'll have 2 weeks together as a group and diving into the practices, chanting together, going to monasteries, going for walks, and really having a wonderful holiday, but at the same time really doing some powerful transformational work on ourselves to really reconnect to our authentic self, and also to, I feel, reconnect to what's really important to us. Sometimes in the stresses of the things to do in the future, we forget or sacrifice things that are most important to us. And it's a shame that so many people reach their deathbed and only remember it then.
You know, what you're talking about too is the feeling how music, especially that we're talking about the sacred science of sound, when you drop into that sacred place in the body with the music and it really stills the mind, it changes everything. That it reveals to you what you're talking about. It reveals an inner wisdom when the mind is stilled, is quiet through these vibrations, through these sacred words, through the Om, through the practices you're teaching, through the music that you're sharing. And that was a really, really important trip in my healing, and it was beautiful. I'd love to share. It was beautiful that you had taken Dylan's photo all around the world. And when we came together that summer in Ladakh, you said he's coming home now. He's coming back to you, and you gave me the picture. And when I flew from Delhi to Leh, the city where we began our journey, there was a rainbow in the sky. We were all the people in the plane were looking out the window, and there was this rounded rainbow in which we first saw the shadow of the plane. And as it got closer, there was like an object in the middle of the rainbow, and everybody was snapping pictures. And when I got off the plane and landed and came to meet the group and looked at my phone, there was my son's face in the middle of that rounded rainbow, which we'll show you now on the screen. And that was so profound to me. And I remember sharing it with the group and just thinking, wow. And I'll just share. So I had come right before from Jonathan Goldman, who's one of our speakers, from his intensive workshop. And this is the picture that you had of Dylan.
Every time I opened my guitar case, he was looking at me.
It was just crazy. I mean, yeah, it was so, that was such an act of kindness that you did for this grieving heart. And I was at Jonathan's workshop the week before I left for India, and I did a private session with one of his sound healers. And I said to her, I'm excited to see Kevin, but I really don't want to make the trip to India. I have apprehension about it. And she was like, no, you have to go, and you'll understand why when you come back. And when I shared the picture with her of what happened on the trip with you, she said to me that Dylan had been present during the sound healing, and he had said to her, I'm going to give my mom an unmistakable sign. And, all the things that happened there on that trip that we didn't know the Dalai Lama was in residency there, and we had 2 chances to go on a Thursday and a Friday, and I thought, okay, I'll go with the first group on the Thursday. And I could hear Dylan saying, no, Mom, let's go on the Friday. And the Thursday group did not see or hear the Dalai Lama, and I was with you in the second group, and we were right close to the Dalai Lama as if he was waving to us. It was magical, Kevin. There's something that
was that epic journey climbing up the cliff to that beautiful, I think it was 2,000-year-old cave or something, temple.
Yeah.
With a ceremony there, and left Dylan's picture there.
Yeah, we did. And one of my favorite songs of yours is Dance with the Whales. Dance with the Whales into the Sea, because he loved dolphins and whales. And you sang that in that cave, and it was like we were connected to everything ancient and everything eternal. Yeah. I love you dearly. Your music is a gift to the world, and this whole conversation with beautiful musicians and authors, etc., about the sacred science of sound. For me, you live that, you walk that, you are that. Your sound is profound. Yeah.
That's a song.
Your sound is profound. But you got a new song that you love, that you maybe you want to share a little bit about that philosophy.
Yeah, I'll share this new song, Perfect Song. It's called The Perfect Song, and it comes from my philosophy of life is perfect, and that may be something that people can get a nice feeling from, and then other people can start to think, no, I don't think it's perfect when all these bad things happen in the world. But the way that I share this is not to be saying this is perfect, that is perfect, this life is perfect, everything is perfect. And to have that attitude, it doesn't depend on what's happening outside of yourself. It's a way to look at what's happening in the world, in your life, in yourself, in your body, in your mind, and accepting it. And it's only through acceptance that we can love. I can't say that I love you, but I don't accept you. And so for me, it's an attitude of acceptance. When you say it's perfect, you can leave it as it is. You have a starting point. It doesn't mean you can't make change in the world, or you can't do something about injustices or things that you don't feel are resonating with you. In fact, you can be more effective from a place of acceptance rather than coming out of reaction. So for me, when I say life is perfect, I'm connecting to life, and then I'm accepting life. Because the only way we can really connect to anything is through love. And so even in challenging situations or things that are difficult to accept, if you make that effort to accept them, you connect to them, and then through that love, you can access wisdom. And that wisdom allows you to act in a harmonious way in that moment will bring about harmony. Because all the things that we really don't like are just not harmonious. It's life is music, and just like music on an instrument, you know, I have to tune my instrument before I can play music, and the way you do that is you just hear it. You know, you can hear what sounds good, and this is the way we can relate to life. It's all perfect, and then we can feel what doesn't resonate or what does, and find the distance and tune things up and create harmony, create beauty. And that's, I think, what's required of us in these times, to really create beauty and not necessarily separate ourselves from life by judging it's being right or wrong, but take responsibility for our lives and for our actions to create the beauty that's needed in the world. And that's how we can co-create heaven on earth, I believe. So my music is really just my service to help people to reconnect to themselves and to connect to their heart and to connect to that attitude of acceptance, I think, and connection, devotion, those things that bring us back to our heart, where we can then, from that place, co-create the world that we can be reborn in, or our children's children can be born in.
So beautiful, Kevin, what you're doing, the gifts that you bring. And I learned so much by being in your presence and being able to sing with you, chat with you, create circle with you, bring harmony in whatever group we were in. Just really, what does it mean, this healing power of music? And when music is there, as you're describing, it creates love and safety. And for me, in my situation, I was able to really drop into my body, into my heart, into the vibration of the sounds of the songs, and feel. And then from that place, when you're able to embody grief or sadness or depression or pain, when you can actually embody it, it transforms. It transforms, it becomes lighter, it takes on the vibration of love. It's what you're talking about, and I'm just grateful for you.
Oh, life will just reflect the way you see it. To accept it is to love it and to be it. And to love it all is to love yourself. Acceptance and love, they are one. And they are one and it was, it will be perfect, 'cause it is so perfect. In the perfection of His heart, in the perfection of His heart, and it was perfect. It will be perfect. 'Cause it is so perfect in the of this heart. Sing it with me. In the perfection of this heart. And it was, and it was. It will be, it will be. Cause it is, cause it is. Oh, in the perfection of His in the perfection of this heart. Oh, life is a reflection. Life is your reflection. They are one and same. They are one and same.
Touches where words simply don't go. Thank you.
That's the answer to your question about how does music heal? It touches where words don't reach.
Yeah.
Because that part of ourselves is not describable by words, not graspable by thoughts or ideas. You can't see it, you can't touch it, you can't hear it, you can feel it. And music is the doorway.
It's the ineffable. It's and then things are revealed. It's like what Susanna was asking you to come and meditate. There's in that silence still there's music, and in the music there's silence. I want to share with the viewers that you took your first trip, which I was privileged and blessed to be with you in September, to Bhutan. You celebrated your birthday and your engagement to Susanna, and it was an incredible journey in a land where the main vibration is the vibration of happiness. And you sang a lot of the Om Tare. We chanted a lot of the Om Tare, and I'm curious. I hope you'll sing that for us. I'm curious, in different areas when you're traveling, like let's say to Greece or to Sweden or Asia, do different songs become more? Do you feel the vibration of that particular place or the people or the groups that you're sharing your music with? Do certain songs or texts get called out more than others in particular places?
Yeah, definitely. But there's no method to the madness other than particular cultures or religions. I'll tend towards sharing their mantras or their songs, their music, if I can. So while I'm in Japan, I play the shakuhachi in temples, or I might sing songs that I feel that they can sing with me very easily. So I kind of know the limitations that people have, and I'm always seeking to get people involved, get people engaging with the music more than just listening, but participating. And I feel that, well, what I've learned is that there are many different ways to describe God or the source. many different names, but they all have in common this love and peace, and freedom, and presence. All these are emotional states. They're feelings. And so for me, singing is the best way to express feelings through our voice. In fact, when you take a feeling to an extreme, there's always a sound. So likewise, when you make a sound, you can extract or cultivate a feeling, just like fake laughing or fake crying. If you yell enough, you might get in touch with some anger or whatever. But so for me, mantras are actually cultivating harmonious feelings through our voice, and by actually singing and also then singing with the group. For me, it's I feel like I'm giving God back to the people without any dogma. It's an experiential thing, and I'm not afraid of devotion and having devotion to the source or to different names that are describing the source. But I stray away from dogma where this is the only truth, or there's only this one name, or this one God, or whatever. But I believe in accepting all the religions and all the different faiths. That I think they're all profound in their own way, coming from an original source that's some enlightened beings have created from that same place, but ultimately they have the same necessity to let them go, to arrive at the source. You can't take anything, not even a religion. But on the way, sometimes religions or teachings, or different methods are ways to help us along the path.
Do you find sometimes there's people in the groups, I don't know, this came up in a couple of the conversations, do you find that there's people who feel they've been criticized or shamed or told that they can't sing since they're a child, and so they don't want to open their mouths and don't dare to emit a sound? And do you find when those folks come to the chanting circles, can you feel that shift?
Yeah, too many people like that. I'm shocked to hear so many people, especially I hear either told by their parents or by the choir leader at their school. So to all you choir leaders out there, please be gentle on those kids that maybe sing a little bit off tune, but sometimes it's the gifted ones that don't actually end up sharing as much as the ones that have to work a little to get their voice in harmony. It's not necessarily about whether you're gifted or not. I think at school they need to really share that everybody can sing, and everybody maybe needs to be tuned up in different ways. But I find that in a group situation, the people who are singing a little bit off key are what makes the honey. It's like that's the little bit of sugar that you add to the curry that makes it, or salt. It makes it totally delicious. It's a spice. So we don't want everybody singing perfectly in key. It sounds boring. It's just like a good movie always has a villain in there.
And just that whole principle of entrainment, as one really starts to vibrate, then some of the other singing will come and just meet it. and it's
Yeah, that's
how we're creating harmony. But I forgot, being a singer, I've just forgotten that for many people that is definitely a wound, and these circles just.
It creates a safe space, and even if I don't say anything, I think it doesn't take long before people realize that they can just let it rip, just open up, and just sometimes we go completely nuts and go wild. And
I know, I love when we stand up and we're dancing and moving, and there's movement with the chants, and other times it's so reverent and so deep.
yeah. Sometimes you've got to go through a bit of raucous to find that reverence and that depth, and definitely I think it doesn't take long before you realize that at a Kevin James chanting circle, there's not a lot of seriousness going on.
I enjoyed very much this trip to Bhutan because it was a very unique and special country, and the circles were very reverent, but there was also so much joy and fun, and I loved playing bowls with you, and what came out of that was the music that we've created for Buddha Lounge, which is, Kevin is also an incredibly talented flute player. And you'll find one of those pieces on our special download. And
it's been fun, and much more to come. Yeah, it's great to see you really start to blossom with the bowls, and to bring that medicine to the world. You've got them all around you.
Would you share Om Tare with us? You feel like singing that?
Yes, sure I will. The song's about the essence of Buddhism, which is kindness, and I wrote this song while I was in Bali, and as I was writing it, I started to heat up. And during that process, the song just really came out very quickly and easily. And I thought that it was the song, that I was channeling Tara, and that I was literally sweating with heat. And then I found out later that I actually had dengue fever. But maybe that heat helped me to expand enough to be able to write this song. I love this song, and Tara is the keeper of the doorway of the heart. I call upon the light of my soul. Help me to see through my own darkness. I call upon my wisdom and faith to find my way home to the heart, sacred and holy, to the land where love is holy, and all is revealed as one voice calling your name. I call upon the light of my soul. Help me to see through my own darkness. I call upon my wisdom and faith to find my way home to the heart, sacred and holy, to the land where love is holy, and all is revealed as one voice calling your name. Om
all the temples of gold didn't take us to your glory. Through our kindness and faith, let's pave a road that will lead us there. And all the temples of gold didn't take us to your glory. Through our kindness and faith, let's pave a road that will lead us there. Om Tare, Tutare, Ture Sola. 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 Om Tare, Tutare, Ture Sola.
So beautiful, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm curious, when you're composing, I mean, what I love so much is you've taken this depth and poetry and I don't know the words in the English language, and then combined it with sacred texts. How did that come to be, and maybe you share a little bit with us about your process of actually writing, because I know you were so excited when you shared some of your new pieces with me this summer.
I started writing as soon as I learned guitar when I was 21. But then there came a period in my life where I was just prolifically writing. I have a box at home of just full of papers, and that's after I threw a whole bunch of stuff out. And I literally would just wake up in the morning and just drink tea and write songs. And I went through a period of slight depression during that time. And I remember curling up in a ball and just not being able to be there for my daughter. And I didn't know why. I didn't know what was happening. But I felt that being a plumber, which was my trade, that was how I earned a living. I felt that I was trying to be establishing a business as a plumber, but I was also playing my music, and I was writing these songs, and then I just felt that my soul was bleeding, or my soul was just crying. I was curling up in a ball. It just felt like there was something inside of me that just And then I just sort of clicked. I realized, well, why am I prolifically writing songs? Why am I just always writing songs and not really socializing much? And then getting depressed. And so I decided that I would start a band. And I started a band. And it was called The Optimistics, with a Y, Mystics.
Of course.
And I also had what I would call like a practice of sharing mantras. So that had been all along, all since the year 2000. I was sharing mantras when we lived in the north, and then we moved down to the middle of Australia, where there were more people. My daughter could go to school, and that's where I was prolifically writing. And that was a great place to start a band. But all the while I was holding chanting circles, but it was more pass the guitar around, and then sometimes there wasn't so many people coming, and I was just doing Hindu mantras at that time. And I remember coming home from work as a plumber, and it was cold, and I was tired, and I hadn't cooked dinner, and I'd planned to do an event, and I was like, oh, I don't even want to go, I'm going to cancel it. And then my subconscious mind would say, go down there and do it, just keep doing it. And I remember times there was 3 people show up, and I just kept doing it. And even though I started this band, and within the space of a year, the band it was like literally like a red carpet just rolled out in front of us. All the doors opened, and we had a wonderful time. We were a great bunch of people. We were rehearsing, and then we started drawing really good crowds, and started to headline at some of the local festivals. And some of our musician friends couldn't believe how well we were going. And then it came to recording an album, and I just stopped. I couldn't go forward, and I was just wondering why. But I thought to myself, well, if I'm true to what I'm singing about, which is follow your heart, I have to stop, because I'm not getting the inspiration to keep going. And I was getting calls from the band, and what's happening? When are we going to record? And when's the next gig? And I was like, I'm sorry, but I'm not feeling it. And it just all started to fall apart, and I didn't proceed with it. And then what happened was I kept doing the chanting circles, and then the crowd that was coming to the Optimistics started coming to the chanting circles, and they started asking for my songs in English, because that's what I was sharing with the Optimistics. I was blending some mantras in. I was bringing that aspect to the more dancey tunes, but then it kind of fused together, because the fans from the Optimistics came to the chanting circle, and they weren't so into Hindu mantras. They were like, can you play that song, Let Go of Everything? Or I had all these songs. So actually I'm in the process of recording some of those songs here, actually, and I'm absolutely loving it, because there's great beats, and do you want me to share one?
Yeah, definitely.
An optimistic song. This is a song that I wrote. I was recording it today, and I wrote it. Well, it must have been about 15 or 16 years ago. But the message is still very, very much something I aspire to right now. So.
Kevin, it's really inspirational how you hear the voice inside you and how you really follow that.
Yeah, that was definitely a point of facing something that apparently seemed successful, but not getting the feeling, and having the faith and courage to go. I'm not getting the feeling to go on, and then something happening as an outcome of that I could never have predicted, but has given me a path with music that's so fulfilling, because it brings in my spiritual practice and my songwriting and my folk music and everything together. And even though my music career has been built on the chanting circles, which has a strong emphasis on mantras, now I'm at a point in my life where I'm able to sort of sit back in that, I'm comfortable in that, and now I can start to share some of my other music, and that's what the next wave of music that's coming out is. Actually, some of it has already come out in my album called Heartstrings, which you may have heard. That has some of my singer-songwriter. That was the launch of my singer-songwriter stuff. Anyway, I'll share this tune. It's called Let Go of Everything. Let go of everything, and only the truth will remain. No amount of holding on will ever see us through these times of change. Let go of everything, and only the truth will remain. Love is surrender, it's time to remember the one beyond all names. Let go of everything, and only the truth will remain. No amount of holding on will ever see us through these times of change. Let go of everything, and only the truth will remain. Love is surrender, it's time to remember the one beyond all names. I open up my heart, I open up my mind to face the freedom that lies behind the walls I built from an age-old story that's losing its power. Now we're stepping into glory. As I open up my heart, I open up my mind to see the beauty before my eyes. Let go of this dream, let it fade away to light and a vision of a brand new day. Let go of everything, and only the truth will remain. No amount of holding on will ever see us through these times of change. Let go of everything, and only the truth will remain. Love is surrender, it's time to remember the one beyond all names. I open up my heart, I open up my mind to face the freedom that lies behind the walls I built from an age-old story that's losing its power. Now we're stepping into glory. As I open up my heart, I open up my mind to see the beauty before my eyes.
let go of this dream, let it fade away to light and the vision of a brand new day. Brand new day. Brand new day. Brand new. Oh, step into the glory, light within us all now. Oh, step into the glory, the light within us all now. Oh, step into the glory, the light within us all now. Oh, step into the glory, light within us all. Aswa Varenya Bago Te Pasiati Mahidi Hoyona Rachodaya. So I thought I'd throw in that mantra.
That's so good.
That's the one that I heard in the circle. It's called the Gayatri mantra.
Yeah.
Swaha Salitu Varenya Bago Te Pasiati Mahi Tioyona Chodaya. Step into the glory. Step into the glory. Step into the glory. Oh, step into the glory.
Kevin, so much glory, so much beauty. I loved hearing that. I've not heard that before, and I
So
really,
few people have, yeah.
pardon?
So few people have heard that song, so I'm happy to be recording it.
Yeah, I mean, it's truly, we're only a breath away. We're only a breath away from making a change, letting go of that story you're talking about, letting it go and moving into the true magnificence that we are.
Mm.
Ah, yeah. Yeah. I never thought I'd see joy again, and sharing music with you has brought so much joy in my life. I'm really grateful, very grateful. Hey, if you had something that you would like, is there something you would like to share with the viewers? Anything that is in your heart that just says, yes, this.
One thing that's just coming to mind right now is the joy that you just shared that comes from music. I feel that as a musician, and to have music as such a big part of my life, and I really I have an image of when I was just starting to play guitar, and I met this old hippie that was passing through town with a big beard. He was busking at the hotel for money, and that's how he lived his life. He just busked, and people bought him beers, and he paid for his food, and he lived by his guitar. And he looked at me and he said, Kevin, playing guitar is a necessity. It'll be something that will be like a blessing in your life to have music. coming from your hands. And I never forgot that. And the thing about music and what it teaches us is that it can really remove the suffering of the world. So while we are engaged in music, and especially the more engaged, the more of the experience we have. And if we're sharing it with more people, it even gets more powerful. During that time when we're engaged with the song, we're engaged with the music, if we're singing along or if we're actually playing music, there's no suffering. You're not thinking about the future. You're not trying to get to the end of the song. You're playing music. You're not working. And even though at the end of the song, you go back to your normal existence, and it doesn't necessarily permanently transform us or have any kind of after effect. But in itself, it's the goal. It's the goal in itself. The playing is the goal, and we tend to project into the future, like if I do this, I'll get this outcome. But the thing with music is it's instant, and it takes you there immediately, and there's a freedom in that. And I can't encourage people more to find some way of bringing music into your life. And there are some people who just, they're real lovers of music, and they love to listen to music and have great music collections. And that's another way of playing music. There's other people that really want to sing or really want to play, but they don't have the courage. I can't encourage you enough to go against your imaginary fears and don't waste your life without music, because it's such a freedom, and for me, if I ever have any kind of problems, I play music. I remember one of the biggest problems I had was when my daughter was in a really difficult time, and I was in Bali and she was in Australia, and I knew it was coming, and I'd been asking her to come to Bali, come travel with me, get out of this situation. And then, but she was kind of trapped, and she went to the pits of hell, ended up in hospital, and I got called. And there was nothing I could do. I was in another country. And so I got my guitar and I chanted. With tears in my eyes, I chanted with an intention for her to find her path. I didn't focus any of that powerful mantra or that energy on the problem. I focused it on the solution, which was for her to find her destiny, to find the lesson and learn that lesson from that situation and move on, and to follow her path and to remember why she's here and all this sort of beautiful stuff. And then in the evening, I got invited to a puja, which is a powerful ritual with the full moon. So I went along there, and I was all my prayers again for her. And then the next morning I woke up and I got a phone call. She said, "Daddy, I'm coming." And she spent 3 years traveling the world with me and transformed her life. And now she's the most incredible woman I've ever met. And I love her dearly, and I'm so proud of her. And I'm so, I have so much faith in her. And she is just a wonderful example of transformation. And she just literally unfolded like a flower every day as we traveled around. And you were part of that journey.
Oh, yeah.
To America.
Yeah. It's saying yes to your own song. And when I think my teacher, who I started singing lessons with her when I was 11, she is now 95, and she just is having a concert this coming up weekend. And she always says, we were talking about responsibility earlier, to share your gifts, and she says as a teacher of singing that she doesn't want anyone to die with their song unsung. And that's just what you've shared with us, to find that place where our melody, our song gets sung, however it's expressed in our lives. And you helped Shantae to do that, your daughter. Yeah.
Yeah, in one of my songs, I say, one of the lines is, can't see any evil when you're creating beauty. Just as a light, when you're creating beauty. Sorry for my Australian accent.
I had to listen carefully.
You can't see any evil when you're creating beauty. Just as the light from a candle can't see the darkness. So create beauty, and one of the best ways to do that is to create music or art in some way. Art is very close to the heart. And all the things we call beautiful are just art. Or harmony. Because as you know, art can be anything, but really what we all agree on as beauty is harmony. Just like music can be anything.
Oh, Karen, pardon?
Because we relate to it, because it's our nature.
It is our nature to be in harmony. Hey, dear friend, will you close us out with anything that's coming right from your heart, that's bubbling out of you, however you would like to close it. My nose is so stuffy today. I'm sorry.
I've got heaven in my heart, and it's shining through my eyes, all the more brightly when it's in your eyes. When it's in your eyes, and I've got heaven in my heart, and it's shining through my eyes, all the more brightly when it's in your eyes. An old man told me not to shy away from paradise, 'cause if you wait, it never comes. So sing it through you and share it in your smile. Shine it through your eyes, and I'll remember. And if we surrender, we can be the truth of who we are. We're shining like a star. You know that I've got heaven in my heart, and it's shining through my eyes, all the more brightly when it's in your eyes. When it's in your eyes, and I've got heaven in my heart, and it's shining through my eyes, all the more brightly when it's in your eyes. When it's in your eyes, I know I'm in heaven, 'cause I can see it in your eyes. Hey, I see it in your eyes, and I know I'm in heaven, 'cause I can see it in your eyes. Oh, I can see it in your eyes, and I know I'm in heaven, 'cause I can see it in your eyes. Oh, I can see it in your eyes, and I know I'm in heaven. I can see it in your eyes. Don't you know that I've got heaven in my heart, and it's shining through my eyes all the more brightly when it's in your eyes. When it's in your eyes, and I've got heaven in my heart, and it's shining through my eyes all the more brightly when it's in your eyes. When it's in your eyes, I know I'm in heaven, 'cause I can see it in your eyes. Yeah, I see it in your eyes, and I know I'm in heaven, 'cause I can see it in your eyes. See it in your eyes. If we surrender, we can be the truth of who we are, shining like a star.
Ooh.
That's my goodbye.
This boy traveled all over the world with you, and he's home now, and he's creating heaven, earth, together with me, together with you. I thank you, Kevin, for joining us in this conversation for the sacred science of sound. May your hearts all be filled with light and with love, and may you sing your song. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.